Big and exciting victory for Duke basketball over UCF in their exhibition opener. And Cameron Boozer, really good at basketball.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man. The Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us today on Thursday, October 23rd, 2025, as Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. On today's show, we're focusing heavy on the Duke exhibition win over UCF. Cameron Boozer starring in the performance for Duke basketball, and a commitment finally in the class of 2026 as Bryson Howard decides Durham, North Carolina is where I want to go to college. I want to go to Duke University, and we'll break that decision down from Bryson Howard on today's show with our good pal Conor O'Neill from Devils Illustrated, who's back with us once again as he is every week, and excited to dive into this. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free wherever it is that you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating and written review. And remember, we're also available for you free on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video. Share it with your friends. Continue to spread the word about Locked On Blue Devils. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. So here he is, Conor O'Neill, hanging out with us today on this fine Thursday. I hope you're doing well. Conor, how are you?
Doing well. Told somebody the other day that every day these days or this time of year feels busier than the last one. And I've always said, rather be busy than bored. So definitely not bored this time of year.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I'm excited to be able to break down everything that happened for Duke in this exhibition game, making up for the fact that they don't have a football game this weekend. So tons of news from the basketball front. Finally got that commitment. Duke's got another one coming up on Sunday in Knoxville against Tennessee. And look, it's easy to nitpick these things. It's an exhibition after all, but you start with 96 points, first real game playing together. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is year 4 for Jon, and I think we know this by now about the way he approaches seasons. This team has not put in much time on the offensive end. Jon teaches defense first. Like, he wants to see them improve defensively before he wants to see the offensive stuff come together. And he told us after the game, what he calls their offense right now is just flow. He wants to go from, if you can get a quick bucket in transition, then great. If you have a lane, then attack it. But if you don't, then just kind of go into an offense. He's not calling out hand signals every time. He's not like directing. He's not doing all the really hands-on coaching that you sometimes see when we get into January, February, and March. He's just kind of letting it ride on the offensive end. He wants to see things defensively come together. So when you score 96 and that's all you're doing offensively, it's a really good sign.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine what they're going to be able to do when they start running sets and getting into actions and that sort of thing. I know that's what a lot of people want to talk about, particularly there with the three-point shooting. Duke really took a lot of pride last season in being one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. That's kind of been the DNA of Duke basketball for decades and decades at this point. They were not afraid to let it fly in that first half. What'd you make of the kind of the shot selection and the things that Scheyer had to say after the fact?
Well, according to Jon, at least in the opening few minutes, I think they were a little too not afraid to shy. Like it was a little bit too brazen on some of those shots. He basically called their shot selection poor. Kind of said it left a lot to be desired. And look, I think you can chalk that up to 5 freshmen and 5 returners, but are players in different roles who are just anxious to go out there and play in front of fans for the first time. And to play in a team again, other than themselves. That's always the big talking point when we get to this point is they've been beating up on each other since June. And it's nice to play somebody that they don't know every single thing about the opponent they've got. So, look, this team is going to shoot a lot of threes. I think any team that has Isaiah Evans, Darren Harris, Cam Boozer can make threes, obviously. Dame Sarr, even though we didn't see him, can make threes. They've been happy with him on that end. So they're going to take probably make a lot of threes. I don't know that we're going to see that many games where they're at 50% even. That 35 shots and 70 or 35 threes and out of 70 shots taken. That's a lot, but I think they'll be right in the range of 40, between 40 and 50%.
Yeah, without it. And then it turns into 36 free throw attempts for Duke basketball compared to just 10 for UCF. We won't get into the free throw discrepancy. Again, it is a exhibition there, but clearly Duke was having the benefit of the home whistle in something like this that took place. But you mentioned kind of the shooting that Duke had there. Isaiah Evans got several to fall early and had tons of three-point attempts. 82% of the shot attempts a season ago is that number we keep talking about. Were three-pointers for him. But he did have a nice sequence with the block on one end, takes it coast to coast, and finishes on the other end. And then Nik Khamenia, a guy who was not afraid to shoot it when he found open space. And 1 of 5 is certainly not the night that he wanted to have. But I think a lot of people were probably most impressed with Nik Khamenia, maybe just because they didn't really have a whole lot of expectation going. We've heard so much about the Boozer twins. You know the returning guys. Who is this Nik Khamenia kid? And Duke basketball fans and the college basketball world as a whole are starting to figure him out a little bit.
Yeah, I feel a little lied to. We did not see this version of Nik Khamenia in the early August scrimmage that we got to see.
Yeah.
And I don't remember him looking like this in Countdown. If he did, then that's on me. I understand he showed this in high school, AAU / for Team USA, for the U19 team. I believe what we see in those things. I just want to see them when they actually put a college uniform on. It's different when they get, it just is. They're going to be using a different role is what I'm getting at when I choose not to invest so much time in what they look like before they get to Duke. So the 2 times before this that we saw him, I did not see the version that we saw against UCF. And if the version that we saw against UCF is what Duke has all year, then, I mean, that's a hell of a thing to have. I don't really have a concern with him shooting the ball. I think he took good shots. They just did not fall. The getting to the line 12 times and drawing 7 fouls on our box score that they put it out for us. I mean, good Lord. You got a freshman who's going to go in there and draw that many fouls a game.
Take it.
What a bonus.
Yeah.
And just, he threw himself around with reckless abandon. It's not like I'm young enough to not know who Kyle Singler is, but I didn't watch every single Duke game when Kyle Singler was at Duke. So when people are throwing out the Kyle Singler comparison, I'm kind of like, okay, I guess that makes sense to me in a way. In a way, it doesn't.
Right.
I kind of defer to the people that would have watched a whole lot of Kyle Singler, but yeah, I mean, he was the second best player on Duke last night, or 2 nights ago.
I'll be excited to kind of see Jon Scheyer if that comparison continues to play out a little bit more. If he starts to say more about, that's Kyle Singler, a guy he was teammates with for so many years throughout his Duke career, to see how that comparison holds. But yeah, Khamenia playing so well in his debut in front of fans there in Cameron against a team that's not Duke basketball, put on a really good all-around performance, as did Cameron Boozer, though. And wow, what a performance Cam had for Duke basketball. Let's dive into that specifically after we take our first break here on the show. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Quo. One of the tools that helps make a difference for business owners is Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard us talk about before, just with the new company name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying 2 phones or relying on a landline. I love how Quo, formerly known as Open Phone, lets your team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox, so no customer gets left hanging. You can see why 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly Open Phone. Get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. That's Quo, QUO.com/lockedoncollege. You can even keep your existing number for free. Quo, no missed call, no missed customers, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Okay, Conor O'Neill's hanging out with us here today on the program as we're talking about Duke basketball's 96-71 victory over UCF in their exhibition opener. And a young man by the name of Cameron Boozer was remarkable for Duke basketball. Got his profile here on the screen for those watching us on YouTube. 33 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, the 33 points coming on 19 shots. I actually felt like he took more shots. I was a little surprised he was as efficient as he was because it felt like he always had the ball in his hands. But I don't know where else to go with this other than to say this is another supernova freshman that Duke has. There's going to be no illusions of him having a sophomore season at Duke, as much play as we'll get out of his brother's quote at Media Day about I wanted to come and play a year or two with my brother. Are you sure about that? Or two, Caden? No, I mean, this to me looked every bit of a top 3 pick in next year's draft. It looked like a guy who is a grown man, and he's 18 years old. It was a remarkable start. And I say that knowing that we're calling this the start of his career, but in 2 weeks, we're going to have another start to his career when they actually play a game.
Right. Yeah. We'll have the official debut against Texas. Then we'll have the official Cameron debut that Saturday against Western Carolina. Right. We'll see how he's able to follow. He's setting the bar high with what he's been able to do so far. And to think about, like, the first possessions of the game, right out of the gates, going chest to chest with somebody and finishing with the dunk, not trying to lay this in around the body or whatever. No, going straight through them. And then throughout the course of the game, you saw the physicality and, oh yeah, he could step outside and shoot it as well. The 3-point shooting, 4 of 7 from deep, was a really big surprise to me.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a capable 3-point shooter. His form reminds me of this. I don't know why my mind always goes there. It looks like Robbie Hummels' shot to me. That's just who I associate it with. It's like that.
Interesting. Okay.
That kind of big 4-man who their shot is not fundamentally flawed. It's just everything looks like it's moving all at once instead of it being in tiers of there's your jump, there's your release. It just
the wrist falling through all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Something about it is just it looks a certain way. Andrew Carr, who spent 2 years at Wake Forest and last year at Kentucky, he shot like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me looking at 4s that can kind of shoot from the outside and thinking they all look the same to me. But that's who it reminds me of. I mean, him stepping into the 3 right after he had the 3-point play that broke the 48-48 tie. That to me was a confident shot that a freshman in college basketball, like if a freshman is taking that shot, I feel really good about where their confidence is.
Yeah, he didn't feel any hesitation whatsoever. Like, this is what I do. I'm a ball player. I make plays, and it was really cool. Not necessarily the chirpiness, I guess you could say, that we saw from Cooper Flagg last season, but you can even see on this photo here on the screen, there's some emotion that he's playing with through big plays and whatnot. And I think that's certainly going to rub off on the Cameron Crazies for sure this season.
Yeah, there's a little more brute force to his game than Cooper Flagg's. And I think that's where your mind can go to the Paolo comparisons. Paolo to me was the player that he'd have 2 or 3 buckets every game where you'd say, well, why don't they just do that every single time? I feel like we're going to be saying that with Cam. His body is just different for an 18-year-old kid. It is a ready-made college basketball player's body in a freshman who has yet to play an actual game. And I think that's where that was what I had the thought of watching Paolo. That guy was just, I mean, I think their builds are actually really similar. I think Paolo
Agreed.
was listed maybe 6'10", 250 when he was at Duke, and Cam Boozer's listed at 6'9", 250. So that's where that comparison is the thief of joy, and no two players are exactly the same. But that's where I think you can draw the line just back to 4 years ago now. And that's where I think the comparison lies.
Without a doubt. I mean, to think about what he's going to be at the end of the season with where he's at now, this is already a great start. And these players improve throughout the course of the year. So, goodness, what could this guy be at the end when it's all said and done? And when Duke starts to get into an offense, I thought he was a really aggressive rebounder on both ends of the floor, offensively, defensively, had a lot of nice finishes around the rim and that sort of thing. So, talking freshmen, we already talked about Nik Khamenia. Cam Boozer, certainly the star of the game. Dame Sarr was out with an oblique injury. We can get to that here in a moment. But the other freshman as well, Caden Boozer, what'd you make of his debut?
Thought it was solid. To steal his words, he called it a tale of two halves for himself. He said he felt really nervous, and he didn't use the word overwhelmed. I'll use it. It looked like he was a little overwhelmed by first time in Cameron playing against another opponent. But it really felt like he settled in the second half. And I think his line ended up being, 9 points, 5 assists, and 1 turnover. If you're Duke staff, I think you sign up for that every night that you can get it, especially against a high major team. I think that is really encouraging for the future. Defensively, it felt like he along with the rest of the team was a little more under control and more communicative in the second half than they were in the first half. And I think there's definitely something to build with there.
Yeah, I think about Caden specifically, the assist, the turnover, the one that you talked about, and then the comparison that people immediately want to make to Caleb Foster, like to this guy that they're trying to figure out what that dynamic's going to look like between the two. And people very quickly want to go ahead and jump after a showing like Caleb had offensively, where he was 1 of 6 shooting from the floor. But Caleb in his own right, 4 assists, no turnovers. Like that being Duke basketball, your 2-point guards, 9 assists to 1 turnover. You'd take that every time.
Yeah, I think you take that every time. The thing that stuck out to me on the box score was Caden Boozer was plus 27 and Caleb Foster was plus 6.
That was telling.
That's eye-opening. I'll be the first to tell you that plus minus is not a perfect stat. There are a lot of things that go into plus minus that I don't. It is all about who you're also playing with, obviously. But when you have a 21-point differential and you're trying to figure out like which one of these guys is going to be the primary ball handler, that's stark. And it's one exhibition game in, but that's immediately where my mind went when we got a hold of the box scores after the game.
Yeah, that's a 21-point difference between the two when you think about the plus minus specifically with those guys. What about all right, so freshman talk. Sebastian Wilkins, the last guy we got to see, wore the headband, which hadn't seen you, so debuting the headband look for Sebastian, which was fun. At the very end, knocks down a 3-pointer from the corner. We see the hops on that dunk. I thought early on there was a sequence in the first half where just completely blew a layup opportunity, kind of breakaway style. I think he didn't know if he wanted to try to dunk or what. It felt like, okay, this is a freshman who's in his first college game and might be thinking a little bit too quickly here.
Yeah, he got sped up in the first half. I don't think there's any way around saying that. It's going to come. He's a talented kid. I don't know how much Duke is going to need that to come this year. They're not healthy right now. You would think the way John talked about Malik Brown and the way it sounds like Dame Sarr, it doesn't sound like a long-term, like month or two for Dame Sarr. It might be a week or two, that type of thing. So right now, it doesn't seem like they're going to need big-time minutes from Sebastian Wilkins in a tight ACC game in January, or even against Texas Tech in December, something like that.
Yeah, no, and the fact that whatever you get would be a bonus with those other guys coming back, and knowing that you're contributing for Sarr and Brown, anything you get out of Sebastian will be definitely taken. And I think, like we said, just seemed to be a little bit sped up and continuing to improve. Like that, he had those moments in the second half, though. Like I would have definitely been kind of hating it for him if we only saw those first half sequences and there wasn't kind of a flash or two in the second. So that part, at least, I was really excited about. So with that being said, I know that there was some recruiting news this week that we've also got to dive in and discuss with the Duke basketball program. Really exciting things for Jon Scheyer and company as we continue here in a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel, of course, is America's #1 sports book. And with the NFL season here and in full action, FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. We've got Thursday Night Football tonight. How about the Vikings and Chargers? Chargers are the home team and favored by 3.5 points with our friends at FanDuel. I love how FanDuel gives us so many ways to bet, building parlays, player props, live lines during the game, and so much more. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Just go ahead and visit FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today to get started. FanDuel is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Let's also tell you today about our friends at Mazda, who crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You could feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move or be moved, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Bryson Howard is the first commit for Duke basketball in the class of 2026. On Tuesday, he made the decision to play for Jon Scheyer and Duke over Kentucky and North Carolina, and took us long enough, Conor. We talked over the summer. We felt like, this is going to be a class collectively in all of high school recruiting that takes a little while to make these college decisions, but finally Duke gets their first commit.
Yeah, I think it's either 2 or 3 years in a row now that we've gotten to this point, and I've been able to say Duke won't be shut out in the class.
Yeah,
I don't know if there will ever be a class that they take 0 freshmen.
Yeah,
it's my little joke. It's look, the calendar of college basketball has just changed, and it's changed so fast in such a short amount of time that it's now in players' best interest when you get up to the top 10, top 20 players. It's better for them to wait. It's better for them to wait to see, who's playing better or who's playing as well as expected throughout the season, and who's going to be moving on after the season, who's going to be in the transfer portal, who's going to get who out of the transfer portal. There's so much movement that happens at a later date, and high school players don't have to be in a rush to make a commitment right now and to sign in the early period. So it's good for Duke to get this one on the board. I don't know that they'll have another one in the early period. I kind of wouldn't count on it. I feel 100% certain that Duke will not have a 1-player class with Bryson Howard. So there will be players coming. You might just have to wait even more to know who they're going to be.
Yeah, no, and there was another player in the building on Tuesday with Deron Rippey Jr., and then we've seen at Countdown to Craziness, both Cam Williams and Jordan Smith Jr. were there. Max Meyer takes a visit this past weekend. Sayon Keita, another guy that has visited before, seems like he could likely be coming back to the United States at some point to go around and visits. And before you know it, you're starting to put together another 4 or 5 player class for Duke.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it looks like to me right now. I I'm a little skeptical of whether Darren Rippey would sign up to be in a class with, I think, Jordan Smith Jr. and Bryson Howard. That's a lot of ball dominant guards to all be coming in as freshmen together.
Yeah.
If you can get them, great. If you get them, I also think it probably means that neither Caleb Foster or Caden Boozer is on next year's roster. I just don't know how willing those guys.
Think about. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how willing those guys would be to kind of take a back seat for a year. So it's something to think about. It's something that's going to play out. It's kind of, I mean, Duron Rippey, Duke's visit, I think was his 7th of 9 scheduled visits. That is a crowded recruiting class. And there's another Tobacco Road team that is heavily invested in him. I think two. I think he's visited Carolina already. But I think NC State is the one that he's yet to visit. So it's that's a crowded room. I feel more confident in Duke landing Jordan Smith because of the PVI pipeline. I feel more confident in them getting Cam Williams because of the Countdown to Craziness visit. I think typically when Duke brings guys to CTC, those are the guys they get. But yeah, it's like I said, like you said, it's not going to be a one-player class. It's going to have the makings of a 4 or 5 man group.
So we'll go back. Definitely won't be shut out, man. Definitely won't be shut out with all the guys that are coming. And then you think about, okay, the other names that are involved because, from what I'm seeing and kind of following along, it feels as NC State could definitely be one of those front runners for Rippey Jr. specifically. So if he doesn't make that decision to go, then you've got Jordan Smith, Bryson Howard, Cam Williams. But then the other pieces that could possibly be there, we're talking 7-footers, Conor. And once again, Jon Scheyer living up to this blueprint of size and length and versatility, all the above. And then just I was reading a little bit about Bryson Howard's wingspan specifically. Goodness gracious, what Duke's going after.
Yeah, I had it in my head for some reason that Bryson Howard was like 6'8" or 6'9", and then depending on where you look, he's either 6'6" or 6'4". So I'm sure when he shows up at Duke, he'll be listed at 6'5", and we'll have all the confusion eliminated. But wingspan is, in some elements, more important than actual height. The 7-footers, it is kind of alarming to see Duke without a 7-footer on this year's team.
Right.
It's not like Patrick Bongba is really that much shorter. He's 6'10", but it is kind of weird to see it because they've had a 7-foot shot blocker for so many years. And even, the team 2 years ago didn't have a legitimate shot blocker, but they had Kyle Filipowski at 7 foot and Christian Reeves was on that team at 7 foot. So
I thought this is where you were going to give Stanley Borden his flowers as another 7-footer that was on the squad, because this would have
I'm already slipping. We went through Countdown without a Stanley intro. I've already forgotten my boy UTSA. So
No, so it's very clear that size is going to be important in building this class together for Coach Scheyer. Excited to see Sunday against a top 20 Tennessee team in exhibition style so that we can do the same thing next week, Conor, overreact a little bit, and certainly get set for Duke football with the big game against Clemson. Enjoy the bye week on the football side of things. But I was looking at the site the other day, man. Devils Illustrated, you got it all going on right now, man. How can people support you?
It's a lot of content going up all day, every day. Go over to Devils Illustrated, sign up for a premium membership, join in the discussion on the Devil Insider message board. Just please get in there. That's my only way of revenue is subscriptions. So if nobody signs up, then I'm doing this as a hobby, and certainly don't approach it as a hobby.
Yep, not at all. Got a family to support and everything. So make sure you make Devils Illustrated a part of your life. Conor, really appreciate the time each and every week. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, JJ.
All right, that's Conor O'Neill joining us here on today's episode of Locked on Blue Devils. That's going to bring our show today to a close. Big win for Duke over UCF. Really excited to have Bryson Howard committing to this basketball team, and we'll continue the great conversations in the days to come. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.